Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you again. We are very excited to talk about the league, and of course, we is not the royal we. It is I, Sig Tall Lord, also known as Sig. I've got my boy Prowler 222 with me as well. You're supposed to finish it. You left me high and dry there. I'm emotionally stunted. I was waiting for my hype man to come in there at the end. And you know what I got? Nothing. Arcane Soda. Arcane Soda. Everybody, clap for him. Clap for him.
You're not
Great
supposed to
job.
get hype for me.
Well, somebody's got to get hype in this place. It ain't gonna be you. But you know what gets me hype? Our first sponsor, folks. Our first sponsor is Old Host. Old Host supports the LCUS, and you can support Old Host and us at the same time. You can support us by signing up with Old Host, where you can build your own website. Go to oldhost.net, click promotions, and then every time that someone signs up with that coupon code LCUS, 100% of all the profits will be donated back to us. Time is limited for this promotion, so sign up today, support the LCUS, and get you a very good website. I would love to see it. Folks, if you could send me those websites, I would love to look at them. I will critique them personally and send you a video.
He will too. That's the problem.
And that's I hope that Old Host don't hold us accountable for that if you lose some customers, because I keep it real. That's all I do. So speaking of keeping it real, I called it. I called it. If we're gonna hop right into talking about Week 3, I called this Phoenix White Wolf game.
You did. When the coin, praise be upon it, and Evan and I both had different thoughts. You were the prophet, seeking out early the 1-1 split of Phoenix v White Wolf.
I was, and I still think that there's more Phoenix to come. There's more for them to rise up out of. I don't think that they've dug a hole where they're not a championship contender. Some of my favorite players in all of LCUS history play on that team, so I'm excited to see them keep going.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree that they are on the rise from their little bit of a stumble week 1, and they got their bye out of the way week 2. So definitely expect a lot of big things coming from them in the weeks to come.
Yeah, I think you saw a much different Phoenix team than week 1, and it's nice that over the bye week where they got a chance to reconnect with each other, I think you really saw that they've been practicing more, and that showed up in the games. They were able to capitalize on a lot of mistakes, something that they were not able to do week 1 against Option 12.
Well, speaking of Option 12, in their second game, Option 12 versus Blitzkrieg, we had some division. I was incredibly wrong about this matchup, but I want to put a caveat on this, folks. It's very important. Blitzkrieg is incredibly talented and have a strong roster of players, but they revolve around the lane pressure that is created by Exia with his assassin picks. And I don't think Option 12 really read that the same way I did. I was calling for them to have that incredible macro pregame and maybe ban that out, but that didn't happen. So both the coin and I were wrong, and this turned into a blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg. I mean, they just walked. They just stayed straight. There was little to do to stop them, especially with that weird game 1 that Option 12 put out.
Yeah, being a player on Option 12, I can tell you it was a very deflating loss. I don't think I've seen a team perform that badly that I've participated on in my entire time in the LCUS. So very sad to see that kind of happen and be a part of it. That said, hats off to Blitzkrieg. They're the ones who were able to capitalize and everything. They played the laning phase outstanding. I think you saw game 2. I'm roaming around on Echo trying to make a play somewhere, and every single one of our lanes is pushed up as we're behind. That speaks to their play in the laning phase, how they were setting up the lanes. When they got a kill, they were able to push waves into the tower so they would bounce back, and we never had a chance in that second game especially. Great job by Blitzkrieg. They were outstanding.
Yeah, and that it's really nice to see them kind of delivering on all their potential we've been hyping up since the preview of the league. So it's nice to see Blitzkrieg coming out in force and showing that, hey, we're here and we want to win.
I I'm going to continue to ride that hype train. Blitzkrieg, great job. I will give a small applause to Option 12. I love that off-meta bot lane stuff. And though it didn't work out, I hope you guys do consider some other wonky stuff in the bot lane. I did like watching that matchup in Game 1 with the Lux and Lux Morg?
Lux Morg, yep.
It's the snares that never end.
Yeah, I really liked watching that matchup too, especially since it worked out so well. I think the biggest problem with that first game for Option 12 was the game did go as late as it did, that they just didn't have enough consistent DPS for the fights later, and Blitzkrieg was able to kind of stall out until they were able to have a better stance in the fights.
Again, as someone who was playing in that too, I can tell you that trying to peel for the 3 mages we had was incredibly frustrating. Exia's Zed was able to blow up Liss on his Orianna pretty much before every fight, and it was a 4v5 from there on, where you got 2 huge tanks standing in the front trying to peel off all these champions who were able to get to the backline, and just wasn't something we were able to do. Again, well executed game plan by Blitzkrieg. They played to their win conditions. They showed that they are a force in Split 4.
Well, oh man, you were killing it with these transitions today. Going from Force, we got Gale Force on lives that rounded out the Night Force in set 3, and yet again, your boy called it 1-1. That was the Gale Force I was expecting week 1 with the roster that they have. I feel like they had a much more larger team dynamic this time. I don't know exactly what would have caused that. Maybe they got the practice in. Maybe that's just personalities are meshing more with time going on. But an 0-2 loss, that'll give you a swift kick in the hind end to start improving.
Yeah, one of the things to recognize with Gale Force is that because they had that bye that first week, they got to play their kind of undisciplined game in a game where all of us had already played. So week 2, if you kind of just push that aside and say that that's their week 1, they were unorganized, they're playing against a team that's already kind of dipped their toes in the water in the LCUS, it doesn't look as bad, and then they come out with a 1-1 against 9 Lives, who's a very good team. So I agree 100% that Gale Force is really showing their potential, just like Blitzkrieg is highlighting theirs. And they, again, 2 very good teams. I'm scared to play against Gale Force as they continue moving forward.
Yeah, and looking at these matchups, I really enjoyed watching, just kind of breaking it down a little bit, how each team won. So for game 1, 9 Lives, they just had a really clean macro control game where they kind of just had a very tight grip on the game and worked their way to the finish and kind of strangled Gale Force out of a win there. Gale Force did have a few really good plays towards the beginning of that game, especially, that kind of kept them in it. But despite Gale Force being ahead in kills for most of the game, 9 Lives typically had a 2 to 4k gold lead throughout most of the game. And then game 2, Gale Force kind of took it back on them, and it was really even in the beginning to the mid game, but Gale Force was able to kind of turn it into a bloodbath and get a lot of fights in their favor that led into objectives that eventually won them the game. So it was a very impressive set to watch, just for both teams showing very different win conditions.
Yeah, most definitely. And I was glad on a support level, Poison Ivy was able to show a little bit of diversity in her pool. And I think that really worked well for the team. When sometimes you have to do poorly on one type of champion before you can really shine somewhere else. Get that understanding of team mechanics a little better. So I'm glad they're showing some pool diversity too in these teams.
Yeah, and going back on the pool diversity, it was really interesting to see Stalia was on Urgot game 1 and had some really good plays, but that's the game they lost. But game 2, they moved him onto Maokai, where he wasn't necessarily as much of a carry for the team, but they still were able to win that through a lot of pretty gruesome fights. So it's nice to see, like you said, the diversity in pools and how they can play to different win conditions.
Agree wholeheartedly. we're gonna skip talking about patch impact because we really didn't have a patch. But I just want to take 1 second to hop on my high horse, and we're seeing a whole lot of Urgot right now, and I feel like Urgot's a very solid choice into a lot of the last meta, but I don't buy into this Urgot hype that we're seeing played so much. I just don't think it has the win potential that people think it do, as Kindred and a lot of other of those ADC jungle picks are kind of going out with more playmaker supports, kind of countering in that zone. So that's Sig's corner. That's my soapbox, y'all. I'm sorry if we got too tangential there, but I just couldn't. I need to let the world know that Urgot isn't as good as you think he is.
I mean, I've been one of the premier Urgot players the first 3 splits. Obviously, in the jungle, he's not nearly as good, but I'll take the other corner and I'll say that Urgot didn't get any buffs or nerfs. He just appeared in the meta, and I think that's because people have been sleeping on him for far too long.
I think he's a solid counter to Kindred, and that's why he's popping up a lot more. But as you're seeing less and less Kindred because supports can play some more diverse positions right now, I think that has a lot to do with it.
Someone definitely watched the Cloud9 games as they move out of groups here.
I am a little salty about that. I'm happy with the outcome, but Kindred, Blabber, expand your pool, homie.
For those who aren't following along, Cloud9 is playing in the group stage, looking to move up into Worlds, and Blabber, their jungler, has been playing Kindred, and he was picked off multiple times by the Urgot ult, where he would ult, but because the Urgot ult can just pull you out of it, the ult was useless, and Kindred was countered pretty hard by Urgot in 2 of the matches, I believe.
Yes, the match versus the Japanese team, they 5 times. That's an insane amount of targeting, which you should expect this upcoming week. But let's talk about this upcoming week. And you know what gets me hyped for that? These awesome skin showdowns that we're hearing every week from our awesome casters. And those are brought to you by Nero. Nero takes the massive battle arena offline with LARP, Nero LARP. Nero LARP is a live action roleplay that has chapters all over the United States. Please visit NeroLARPOnline.com for more information. One of our great sponsors, and we're very appreciative of it. Now, I started talking about next week, White Wolf. What are y'all going to be doing to prep for this upcoming week 5? I don't want to leave you out. You're here. It's awkward if we...
Probably take a nice big nap and hope for the best. Maybe we can put 2 wins together on our week off.
I still doubt it. If White Wolf played 4 games, it'd be 2-2.
Hey, that's still 2 wins.
Oh, man.
For the teams that are going to be participating, we lead off week 4 with a matchup, Blitzkrieg against 9 Lives. Blitzkrieg beginning on the blue side, and Sig, you've highlighted this as a potential finals match. I don't know that you're wrong. Blitzkrieg is playing on top of the world right now. I don't think there's a team in the LCS that can beat him at this point without some significant growth. That's why I gave them the 2-0. And if Exia can keep up his play on Assassins like he's been doing, he's got enough of a pool where you can't quite ban him out. And I think ADCs in this league should be scared, especially because that's where a lot of our playmakers are.
I would agree wholeheartedly. And if it wasn't for non-lives, probably having, like, in terms of traditional standards, I mean, I am the greatest support of all time. But Gregosaurus really put me in my place and showed me the dynamic play that they have in that bot lane of non-lives. I think he's going to be able to peel and just keep it going. I think that's going to be the big problem is Blitzkrieg creates such mid lane pressure that it kind of you're able to focus other places. He doesn't have to have that tent pole of a jungler staying on him. But non-lives, they don't need that either. Their bot lane is incredibly dynamic, and I think it's going to lead it to this 1-1. I think unless some other teams show some growth, Northern Storm, this is going to be your finals match, folks. That's what I'm calling right now. If we don't see some major change, these 2 teams have the most potential to make it to the end.
And all that being said, I feel like 9 Lives has a lot of potential power into this matchup. I also predicted it to be a 1-1. Because Exia has been performing incredibly well, but I also do believe that the bot lane of 9 Lives is just on a whole nother level with pretty much, or compared to pretty much the rest of the league. And if they get a little bit of jungle impact in that bot lane, it could be a very swift game over for Blitzkrieg. That out of the way, I do really want to see how these two teams pull together a macro game. I feel like that could be a very interesting matchup to watch.
Very fair. Speaking of jungle pressure, in set 2, we've got the 2 lowest rated junglers in the LCUS with Chaosix and myself. And I pinged this one as a 1-1, and I think Northern Storm again is one of those teams that has it mostly figured out, and they just need a little touch here or there to really kind of get them going. Option 12 has been on a downhill slide. We started off 2-0 against the strong Phoenix team, went 1-1 against White Wolf, and now we're 0-2 playing into Blitzkrieg. If we keep playing like we've been playing, with this consistent drop off, we're seeing other teams kind of come together as a team. The teamwork that we had starting week 1, I don't see us matching up with any team in the league. This is why I had us pegged as the worst team in the LCUS going into the split. I think you're seeing the talent outweigh the teamwork right now.
And I do think that Northern Storm does have a pretty clear win condition in their own right, especially with Shaken Not Stirred in the top lane. He is just a phenomenal player. But with Greatbeard Odin's performance so far this split, I feel like that'll be a pretty interesting match to watch. And I don't know if Shaken Not Stirred can manage to carry his way through 2 games, especially with Option 12 just being such a well-rounded team. I marked this one up to a 1-1 as well, because I feel like Option 12 is going to have, especially with Ace's shot calling, enough of an edge to take at least one match out of this series.
I do want to touch on something that you mentioned there. You said, Greatbeard of Odin is looking very good in split 4. As someone who's, I played against him the first 3 splits. We had constant matchups in the top lane. He's definitely grown, and I like watching Greatbeard of Odin become the player that I know that he can be. It's really cool to see him evolve just through the first 3 weeks of the LCUS split 4 here.
And it's as wonderful as it is, I cannot. I put this at a 1-1, and folks, my ego is getting in the way here of me truly being clear. I think that Option 12 has a clearly better late game. That's evident in the 2 matches that we've played, the 2 sets that we've played so far. I feel very positive though that the early game is ours, because your guys' macro is so good. That's why I'm giving it a 1-1, because I think you guys are just going to be able to compensate. But we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Come on, you had a whole week off to watch them, and all you're doing is saying, we might beat them once.
I mean, I'm going to poop on you. I'm going to ruin your day. Your children will install League of Legends, and you'll be like, let me tell you about this Sig guy that ruined my night one day. That's what it's going to be. But I don't get these major paychecks to just talk about myself all the time. So I'm excited for a potential 1-1. Let's leave it at that. Set 3, what are we looking at?
Set 3, we got the reincarnated Phoenix team playing against the reignited Gale Force. And it's 2 teams that are both on the rise. And for me, this is the most interesting match of the night. I gave it a 1-1. It feels like they're so evenly matched across the board. And I'll be excited to watch this one. This is good. 2 teams, and I want to see who's got the most, who's capitalizing on their potential the most. Is it Gale Force kind of realizing what's working for them? Is it Phoenix where they're seeming to gel together? I don't see either team, outdoing each other in that. But it would be really cool if there was a 2-0 here and we can say one team is, more on the rise than the other.
I want to be able to say that, but I think this is going to be a 1-1. I think there are more than enough. There's more than enough opportunity from whoever wins game 1 to adapt to game 2. where these teams do tend to play very traditional picks, as in they kind of just play the same stuff all the time. So unless we see something hyper innovative, I think it's going to go 1-1.
And I agree with you guys there on the fact that it's most likely going to be a 1-1 because I feel like Gale Force has the skill and kind of ingenuity to like engineer fights to get them ahead and win a game, but I feel like after playing against Phoenix last week, that if Gale Force gets a little too excited and starts making mistakes, Phoenix is gonna clap down on those real quick and kind of just take control and close out the second game.
Couldn't agree more. Now, we don't have the patch preview. Tonight, we are going to answer a few more of your questions because we know that's really what you're yearning for. Tonight's question section was brought to you by Foster Adventure. Foster Adventure enhances the lives of teens in care by funding social, athletic, and educational opportunities and items that give a sense of normacy to teens in care, promoting friendship, life skills, higher education, and hope in their future. Donate today. Make sure you check them out on our Twitch page. We do have a donation button, and we thank them for sponsoring the LCUS, and we hope you folks will consider sponsoring them. Question 1. What's the LCUS Holiday Showdown? Well, let me tell you folks, the LCUS Holiday Showdown is going to be exactly what you asked for. I know as a part of the production team that's worked with the LCUS for since inception now, you guys have had things that you've wanted, things that really don't fit with the standard format of one of our splits, but we're trying to give you as much as we can with the LCUS Holiday Showdown. So make sure you check out that preview video on our YouTube. Check it out. Make sure you subscribe. I'll know if you didn't. And we'll have some more information in the upcoming weeks. Sign-ups do start on the 9th, so please sign up. If we aren't able to get enough sign-ups, we're going to have to change the schedule and move Split 5 a little closer. So this is going to be fun, folks. I hope you'll sign up. Now, of the teams in the bottom half of the standings, who have all had bye weeks, who will rise and who will fall?
So I'll take first stab at this question, and Sig, I think it's your team, Northern Storm. You guys have played one game together as a team, and one of those games went to 65 minutes, an LCUS record. I think Northern Storm, again, one of those teams that's on the rise that just needs a few tweaks, a few more times playing together, and they'll be one of the top teams again. I'll be excited to see Northern Storm finish in the playoffs where they've been, the past few splits.
I'm going to take the alternative route on this one, and I'm going to go with Phoenix. After their week 1 kind of stumble, they had their bye week to kind of collect themselves and get their strategy together, and it definitely showed off week 3 when they played against us. They showed a lot of potential, and they had taken a game off of us that we were kind of in control of towards the beginning. So I definitely see a lot of good things coming out of Phoenix, and they're most likely going to finish towards the top of the standings.
I agree with that. I think Phoenix have so much potential. They're a roster predominantly made of champions or people that played in the finals, aside from some of their new faces. Anytime that I see Goonstomp and Van Hohenheim in a lineup, I change my hotkeys so FF is an option quicker. They're just too good, too powerful, and I don't know if really we have someone that once they get rolling that can stop them.
Yeah, and when we played against them, Goonstomp wasn't even there. They had Fat Lee in his place, and he definitely brought a lot to Phoenix that we weren't necessarily prepared for, which is probably why we dropped one of the games and struggled as much as we did in the second game. So still, despite them having a sub, they performed really well, and with their regular jungler back in, I definitely think they can keep up that teamwork and keep climbing.
The
Now-
next question that I'm sorry, Sig.
Don't you apologize to me ever again. Now say you're sorry.
I'm very sorry, Sig.
I said don't apologize.
Do you even listen?
I'm sorry for apologizing.
Do we need to beat you?
I'm an
okay, go ahead.
oxymoron in a nutshell.
Yes,
No.
you are a moron. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm an oxymoron. I'm very clean. There's a question from early on in the season that J-Dog submitted that we haven't had a chance to get to, and I really do want to touch on it. He asked, how do you avoid tilt in-game as an individual, and how do you make sure your team is able to focus while gaming fun? I'm assuming that was having is sometimes autocorrected to gaming. So avoiding tilt is all about your own personal mindset, and you need to be able to handle adversity when it's coming up. Part of that is being a humble player and cheering on your teammates, being their number one fan. So if you're having a bad game, me, week 1, I'm playing into Goonstomp, who's one of the premier junglers. I'm, stuck on Cho'Gath, I believe was the second game. And, I'm not able to make the plays that I am around the map because I'm on a big, scary, monster. Where Goonstomp was able to kind of glide around and take care of things. But I had a teammate, 2 teammates, I suppose, that first week in Liss and Ashway, who were both performing so well. And what you have to do is you have to say, even if I'm not doing well, they are, and I need to get excited about that. So handling tilt is to get excited for other things than yourself, and to have that selfless attitude of, I need to make sure that they're in a good mood because they're the ones who are going to carry me through.
And I kind of take a different approach to it. I struggle less with adversity personally. So when I'm going through a game that's kind of rough, I mostly just take a step back and look at what's my win condition and what's the safest way to play to that. So if you're 0-4 in lane and someone else on your team is like 6-2, okay, just relax. I gotta farm up. They'll carry me. Just kind of try to take a step back, take a breather, and don't flame your teammates because they're not doing the things you want them to, because that's only going to create more problems.
I agree, and I think I ride somewhere in the middle there, where both of you are right, but maybe just pepper in a little bit more of the just take a step back, because there's always the late game. All right, guys. Now we're gonna, as a gift to you, because we didn't do a patch breakdown, we're gonna do rapid fire. Prowler, Arcane Soda, answer these quickly, no explanation. What is the most overrated summoner spell? Prowler.
Ignite.
Soda.
Heal.
What champion do you enjoy having on your team but don't want to play yourself? Prowler.
Tryndamere.
Soda.
Zach.
What champion is best after completing one item?
My boy Yorick.
Soda.
Either Zed or Talon.
Last thing, what is the most important thing in a duo queue partner? Soda.
Being able to play comfortably with them.
Prowler.
Trust.
Trust. And folks, you know what I'm going to trust? I'm going to trust you're going to join us next week. This episode was, of course, brought by all our great sponsors, but especially you. Your Twitch Prime subs are what keep this channel going. They're what make it worth it, so we thank you so much. Please check out all our other content across all of our different streams. Please be with us this upcoming Sunday as Northern Storm put the boots down on Option 12 at 5:30 CST, 6:30 EST. Like us on Facebook. Comment on our Reddits. Let us know that you're here. We'd love to hear from you. As always, I'm Sig, joined by Prowler, by Soda, and thank you again for joining us this week as we talked about the league. Have a great night.